Round 1, fight. What's up, all you anime fans and fearless shinobiids? Don't lose to fear, and we have another amazing video here for you today in Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 Road to Boruto for your enjoyment. There's gonna be a handful of amazing ranked fights here with Haku and Darui. I'm gonna be using this team against many different players so that you can see what it's like to play as this team. And we get a guard break to ultimate here with that Gale style black hunting ultimate jutsu that looks unbelievably cool when that panther bites you and then teleports you into this white light. Dude, it just erases you. It's sick. Absolutely sick. It deletes you from existence. Alright, so this is actually a subscriber or someone who watches the YouTube videos that we have here on the channel. So he's a very good player. He definitely, especially when he's on his A game, he's really good. And I really enjoyed playing him for the most part. So let's see how he does here. He's got that armored Sasuke that you don't see too often. Very cool drip factor and DLC there that is very rarely used. He's got the Hinata air palm, which is very good. And let's see, he's getting some combo time. He's substituted. We're keeping away. Now, the connection is not a perfect connection, and I know that the way his team is set up, it's very difficult for me to do anything. As you can see there, the Rasengan hit me from the air, knocked chakra out of me, and pinned me down, creating an area of an effect that basically had no entry zone. And now I have to avoid this Hinata Jutsu, so it's very interesting that some people... There we go. Look at those sub-traps and all that effective range, and then into a Haku tilt and into a Jitsu. That was one of the most unique, interesting, varied substitution traps I have ever seen, ever. And it's cool to see that I'm doing it, but I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've ever done that, and I didn't even know that was an option. Combo cancel into ultimate, and it dropped. Very sad to see that. Unfortunate. Definitely probably a little bit of frame rate delay, but it's hard to remember. But it doesn't look super smooth, but it definitely is a playable connection. It's not a horrible connection. This guy's good, so make sure to see, guys, all the fights in this video. I'm going to try my best to point out the different scenarios and options that I chose in different situations. As you can see there, I chose to take that damage. I have just a little bit of a health lead, and we're switching back and forth. We sandwiched in there with the two Jitsus. That's always a good option to do with this team. However, it's not easy to get that pincer attack where you're attacking the opponent from both sides of the map and switching back and forth. Some people believe that switch tech is a horrible thing, that it's really bad, and I don't actually believe that anymore. What I do think, is the game is unbalanced, and I think that... Very nice, we ended that round. I think that the game is very balanced and I would say top heavy. So the characters that are considered S tier or high tier characters, very strong characters overall, they typically have a much higher advantage, right, when you're switching in terms of accuracy online, in terms of the value that you get from those characters when you're switching. So it's very top heavy in that regard, meaning the middle portion of the roster and the lower tier characters in the roster don't really do much in the game competitively, or if you want to win. Very nice Darui tilt and switching back to Haku at the right time to do some screen manipulation, to do some positioning manipulation. Luckily, Hinata didn't track us there and she was not summoned at the right time. But you see how this Naruto actually pinned me down to the ground. He's so effective. I think that even though I've been really trying to not allow him to get value with that Naruto, he's basically gotten value every time, if not almost every time. Luckily, I've been avoiding Hinata. If I wasn't avoiding Hinata or dodging her or out spacing her, I would be in a very big losing position. The Haku Ice Jutsu actually tracked and got that substitution, which is really good. One of the first times we saw him use his jutsu, but we did the laser circus there to end it, and we're up about an entire bar. He's got a little bit of green health. Let's see what happens. Buddy hopping there, trying to get some chip damage. Luckily, he summoned the Naruto support, so the laser circus actually got that value of canceling out that Naruto, which has been so pesky. Very pesky. that Naruto support is super tough. I understand why people use him. Look at that. Wow. He just gets so much value. It looks like we outspaced him there for the first time. I tried to switch back into Haku, but the Haku summoning time isn't as long as Darui. So something to keep in mind is that the Darui is more of an anchor, whereas Haku does have some casting time where you can switch back and forth. Haku does not is not as reliable. So we got Red Guard here, we got Titan Fighter 100, someone that I fought in the Moonlit Massacre series, the first rank series that I had many months ago, if not maybe about 2 years ago now. So it's been a long time. We're doing this series so that we can see how much stronger that we got. But the funny thing is that this now is a year old. So this second series, the Fearless Anime Fan series, all happened in September. So maybe a few months after that. So it is what it is. Very nice Roshi Fireball. A double Fireball. Absolutely amazing. Pristine. Fantastic fireballs there from Roshi. Super skilled. I like to see that from people. There we go. Switching it up. Trying to pressure here from long range. We're both doing that to each other. And it looks like I have the health advantage. Yes, I do, but just by a bit. Sometimes when you do those switches, you can go back and forth and kind of see what your opponent does and then make a decision based on that. So it's not so much of an option select where you just do it and then you get all this value. No matter what happens, you'll get some kind of value, or it almost always goes in your favor. It's more of a wait and see what happens and then react situation. So that's the interesting thing, is that I think that the switch tech is wonderful and beautiful and amazing in this game. However, it gets more of a sledgehammer approach when you use those high tier or top heavy characters. You know, the typical characters like 10 to 20 characters that people use, it gets the ones that people just use over and over again. It's not quite as, interesting, because it kind of does the work for you a lot of the time, and a lot of those characters have lag resistance or even lag proof in certain situations. Whereas a lot of these middle of the road characters or lower tier characters, they don't work as well in certain situations. You have to really think about what you're doing, right? And then other times they can work even better than those S tier characters. So it's very cool. See there, like he threw a simple shuriken, stopping my tilt, but I still had the positioning right afterwards when he stunned me out of my tilt. So it's still very valuable. I think that a lot of people are not used to not being safe all the time. And that's the thing with this team. It's a very good team, Darui and Haku, but you're not going to be safe all the time. Things aren't always going to go your way, and you're going to have a different and varied road. And that's part of the reason why I like it, is that it's a very big brain team that has big brain plays. So you really have to think about what you're doing, and it really does feel more like a traditional fighting game when you're using this two-man team and other two-man teams like it. And that's kind of what I try to emulate, or to go through and go for. Really good grab there by Titan Fighter. So let's see what happens on the Oki situation. We double Jitsu. Not that great. Wasting a lot of chakra there. I still have half a bar, which is nice. He has no substitutions. No substitutions. And here we can punish. What's it going to be? We're going to probably go for the Haku. Counter cancel. And oh my god, we actually finished it with that combo cancel. Counter cancel with Haku into Darui Ultimate. This is definitely a setup you're going to want to learn. I actually saw a Fearless Shinobi, or at least somebody who watches these videos, use this exact team, and that's when I knew that some people wanted to actually use this team, but they probably didn't know all the setups and stuff like that, because I showed it a few times, but I showed lower level gameplay. So here you're going to see some higher level gameplay. It's not perfect. I still have higher level gameplay still on top of this that I haven't shown you, but I think that in terms of learning and demonstrating what a team like this can do, we kind of want to start from the bottom up, right, and work our way up. So very perfect there. That whole sequence that you saw was very perfect. My guard management is fantastic here because it's only still orange. It's not quite red yet, meaning now it's probably cooled down back. There it is to blue. So very interesting thing that most people don't talk about is guard management. And this team allows you to manipulate space and definitely generate negative space and positive space and substitution traps and allow you to control tension. So it's really just a perfect team for Tassa. Even though it's not the strongest team in the game, it has a lot of strengths if used properly. Like that tilt, did you see how much damage that did? We got the damage off that last icicle in the tilt, doing massive value there, and their darui saving us. Hakujitsu supported by Dari tilt. That way, if he stopped us somehow, probably that Hakujitsu would have still hit him with the ice on the ground. Crazy. Our guard is now red, but we went back out, went back in. This is the most insane task like you've ever probably seen in Storm 4. Nobody plays like this. And I'm really happy to try to teach that to the community like I did about 10 years ago in Storm 3, where I developed these techniques, mastered these techniques, and taught them to the community. It's stuff that people use today, even in meta and in high-level tournament settings or competitive settings that people don't really realize that they're even using or that they don't talk about, but that is where it came from. Very interesting stuff. So let's try to see what happens here. See, some of the inputs there didn't come through if you saw back then. The misinputs were happening. It's just how it is sometimes. I mean, sometimes that's my mistake, but most of the time it's the game misinputting, which is really unfortunate. So there is a little bit of a dash manipulation. This guy's team is actually fantastic. He has one of the best teams in the game. Usually we don't use Hinata though, we use an Inferno Fireball for that standard meta team. But this team works really well as well. So let's go and see what happens. I can't believe that ball didn't hit us. Okay, he has no substitution bars. Alright. Okay, so we switched out, making it safe from that Shinra Tensei. Let's see what Haku does here with this awakening. Okay. Haku awakening action blocks Naruto double Rasengan barrage. I bet you most people didn't know that. So that's really, really interesting, to say the least. So let's get our chakra back. One downside is that this team really needs a lot of chakra. Wow, that combination of the jutsus is insane. To be able to attack from that arm's length distance is pretty darn valuable and really quite amazing. It is not anything quite like it where you have tracking and substitution traps. So if done correctly, right, you got to thread that needle, you got to make the connection, and you have to do things properly. Finally, mixing up that tilt, keeping that guard red. Wow, okay, it doesn't look like there may be like a dead spot there where you can't get some value, but that is okay. Looks like he's going to get us here. Are we still living? We got some damage. Wow, that walk tech going strong. Crazy, amazing switches. I can't believe I'm still alive. That is that classic don't lose to fear, never die, comeback. Crazy defense and comeback ability. You just saw it there, but there was like no reason for it. I mean, nothing should have triggered that. I just ended up doing it for whatever reason. I suppose I do have an insane win rate here, and a lot of games won, and I don't want to lose that win rate. So I guess it makes sense. I did want to play on this account with the focus of trying my best with the teams that I'm using, because in past situations, sometimes I did hold back, and I do hold back. Something people don't realize about me when I play this game, because they'll say, oh, especially if they fight me on my main account or something, they'll think, oh, I fought Don't Lose to Fear, and no one ever really tells me anything. But sometimes people don't realize that I'm really not trying that much at all, and there's a reason for that. So let's get in here. That's unfortunate. So I suppose I can talk about this. He's got us in a really good combo cancel here, which is pretty amazing. Damn, man, look at him go. He did not watch the the tutorial video on how to infinite somebody with Rock Lee, but that's okay. So I think that the saying that I have, those that need don't have, and those that have don't need. So imagine, like, if you're really, really hungry, then you need food, right? So you eat the food, you fill up your belly, but now you don't need it and you're not hungry anymore. So you have. So those that don't have, right, that are hungry, need to eat. And they're starving and they get that horrible feeling, right? But those that are already satiated and full, they don't actually need something. So for me, typically when I fight other people, I'm looking for meaningful fights, interesting fights, and people, not people that are like, looking to win at all costs. And I'm looking for people that have something interesting about them, that play with in a meaningful way, in an interesting way, that aren't just concerned only about winning at all costs. And for me, in the past, when I go all out, I'm actually a very high level player that is extremely dominant. And I can get a little carried away. So I typically don't like to do that to myself. I like to enjoy these fun, meaningful fights as an anime fan, as you can see this here, and to be fearless, which is all part of the name, right? So I hope that this makes sense to a lot of you, that I think a lot of people are trying to prove themselves or trying to show people that they're strong. I don't have a need for that. That appetite was quenched long ago, many years ago. So I would say, though, because this was a new game, I was curious to see where I was at. But the funny thing is about this series is it is a year later, right after this series. This was last September 2022. I've become so much more stronger now than I was here, that it's a little bit scary. As long as the connection is good, I can go absolutely crazy. And I do have a few fights that I could show you of that, if that's something that you're very interested in, about those fights. But that's the thing. I think, unlike most people, I'm not actually interested in constantly showing people how good I am or how amazing I am. Yes, in the content, I might say that and I might do certain things, but the word amazing has a nuance, right? Like when I say the word amazing in my videos, I mean it's amazing in terms of that it was more of a meaningful fight, a more interesting fight, or something interesting happened. Not so much that, oh, look at me, I'm amazing and I'm cool and I'm the best player and no one could ever be better than me or something like that. That's not the context in which I operate typically. So I don't like it though too when people are disrespectful and maybe immature. I don't really enjoy those experiences. So that's why from time to time you'll see some new people here that I'll play and that I'll say something like they impressed me or they did this or they did that. And the reason why is because typically I'm talking about their character. I'm talking about something that they did that I could recognize in the fight, right? Whether, through the fight and through fighting, or through them saying something, or through afterwards putting messages back and forth, something that they do that's exceptional or fantastic, that stands out to me, that's not typical or average, right? That I see all the time, because something that you see all the time is boring, right? So very, very interesting stuff. So I think that is probably my first crack at explaining to people that element of things. And then of course there's there's delay and lag and all that, and frame rates literally drop from like 30 to like 25 or 20 or even 19, maybe even 15 sometimes, and you just can't really play those games. I might show here at the end 2 of those games just so you can see how slow and delayed they are. And this should happen to most players. I do know a few people that this happens to, aside from myself, so it's not that it's only happening to me. I think it's a game thing. Plus, this doesn't happen to me on Overwatch, so there's that. So, yeah, on one hand, even if I wanted to, I couldn't try, depending on what game I'm fighting, and it's just all random chance. But as long as, there are quite a few games where there is like very little lag to no lag, and that's perfectly fine. In those games, I can go completely all out if I choose to, and I'm just limited by the team that I picked, right? Because you don't know what the connection is going to be like until you start playing. You see that round 1 fight, right? And you start moving around, then you can actually test to see if you have the frames, if you have a good connection, and all that, and hopefully it maintains. Although sometimes, like, a quarter way through the game or halfway through the game or towards the end of the game, it changes and all of a sudden you lose frames or it lags. That happens too. But I mean, you can actually see all of that and it's measurable, right? You can count the frames and slow it down. But aside from that, people don't understand that about me. That's something they really don't understand, because I think a lot of people, whenever I go on the Don't Lose to Fear account, like sometimes I just want to chill and have fun, and I can't do that because people literally come at me like it's so insane. Like if I play them on an alternate account, they play really hard and they try hard, but if I play those same people like on the same day or a few days later or before on the Don't Lose to Fear account, they are a completely different animal, like salivating at the mouth, going insane. Now, some people aren't like that. Some people are the same people, and I find that interesting. And sometimes people, they try, but they're still very respectful. But a lot of people, I would say most people, they go absolutely insane. I don't know if it's just trying to prove a point or they want to, they're scared of losing. They don't know how strong I am. But what you don't realize is that, yeah, I might be a skilled or good player, but I'm almost always using a very weak team. So, I mean, if you lose, then you have a lot to learn, right? There's nothing wrong with losing in that situation. But if you pick a very strong team that's basically a perfect team, like a super high 3-man meta team, and you're going against me and I have like Minato and Kid Obito, and I'm 2-man team, right? Or Minato and Kushina or something like that, right? It's like, I don't even have half of the power that you have. Like, you have a 50% advantage already. So, I mean, you're pretty much guaranteed to win, right? And usually I still do well, or I still win, or I still hold my own. But it always, makes me curious and makes me think about a lot of things sometimes. I think before, a lot of the time, I wasn't using the Don't Lose to Fear account because I was actually not good enough yet, and I wanted there to be a certain standard of, excellence or creativity, or just, people having a knowing that if they fight me on my main account, you'll have a good fight at least, right? You'll have an interesting fight, something that I could like live up to the sort of legacy that I have created over the years, right? Or the reputation that I created over the years. But unfortunately, the game doesn't let you do that sometimes because of the connection. But most of the time, I mean, it's fine. So I do have some fights I can show you. There's that. So I think a lot of the times I like to just play on alternate accounts due to privacy and because I like to enjoy the game as an anime fan, right? And not as someone who's known and has a reputation, because people definitely play me differently. It's very, very interesting. But now that I've gotten a lot stronger, as long as I'm able to with the connection, I've started to go very, very hard on people on the Don't Lose to Fear account. And I actually don't like that either, because that isn't really quite my personality, right? Like, I don't really like to do that. So I would probably rather just altogether not play on that account at all. Because it kind of it just escalates way too much into a place that I don't want to be. I definitely think that you should always try at some level, like anything worth doing is worth doing well, for sure. But at the same time, in this game, in Naruto Storm 4, it puts you in a very weird position. In Storm 2, I wouldn't think like this at all. It's a whole different thing. Like, the whole game is completely different. I could go all out, no problem. The game lags a lot less chances of it, messing up because of that. And the game is actually much more balanced, Storm 2 is, than Storm 4. Storm 4, even though I love it, it's a fantastic game. I still think it's probably the worst Storm game, online Storm game out of the entire series. I'm not saying that to hate. There's a lot of things I love about it, but I've played and mastered all the games. Very few people have actually done that, so very few people can actually have this opinion that I have. So it's very interesting. Anyways, guys, here is another longer video. So shout outs to all of you that want those longer videos. Let me know in the comments below if other people want them as well. I can do it more often. Let me know if you like this sort of reflection aspect as well, where I talk to you about things. Thank you so much for watching, and more importantly, I hope you had a fantastic day, an amazing day. If not, I hope it gets better for you soon. Peace.